All right, here we go. Here we go. Let's make sure we're good here. Should be good. Let's get it rolling. It's a good day to have a good day. Welcome back to the show. My show. My name's Duke Dog. And I'm here to have a good time. We're all here to have a good time. Look, here's the deal. We got one sleep until the NFL season is finally upon us. We got one more sleep. Maybe 25, 26 hours from now. We will watch the Dallas Cowboys face off against the Philadelphia Eagles at the Link. Okay? We've got an assistant GM for the Cleveland Browns who is a woman. And for some reason, they want to put her in front of the press. I don't know why, but might have an idea. Okay? And we've got the Philadelphia Eagles saying they didn't even know that there was supposed to be a banner ceremony here on Thursday night for Week 1, the defending champs. We're going to get into all of it. But let me tell you, man, I am absolutely sick of this Arizona heat. And I know I can't control it. I know that bitching about it does us no good, but god damn, man. I was getting out today, looking at some office spaces, and I must have worn the wrong shirt. You know, I was wearing this shirt. It's a heavy black shirt. And I was just sweating my ass off standing outside talking to the guy about the office space. And I said, hey, brother, you know, can we go inside? Got some hard grappling that's going to occur tonight. Looking forward to it. My friend, Tommy Gunn McMillan. What up, Eureka? Chicamana. My friend Tommy Gunn McMillan fought in Dana White's Contender Series last night. He fought I believe it was a Russian, Armenian type of guy. His name was David Ngoyan. Okay. Apparently he's cousins with Arman Saryukian, who is a bantamweight contender. Global warming is real. Just ask anyone in AZ. That's real shit, brother. That's real shit. So Dana White Contender Series last night. My boy Tommy. You know what? Why don't we just... Let me see if I can pull this up for you guys. Do it better justice than anything I could say. But my buddy Tommy... I can't say enough things about this guy. He deep last night. He dug so deep. I want to show you guys this clip. Hopefully I'm not frozen. Check this out. What's up, 1A? Appreciate you popping in. I want you guys to watch this. So this was round one. Look at Tommy's head. Look at this. Look at this. He's trying to belly out. I don't know how the fit was he tough. My boy, watch this guy work every day up close. It's a pleasure. And to see this type of resilient performance, I would rather have this kind of performance, a resilient, just digging deep type of fight, obviously you like the flashy knockouts. You like knocking out people cold, that kind of thing. And I'm watching my video catch up here in real time. There we go. There's beauty in walk-off knockouts, and there's also beauty in having your goddamn neck cranked to the side and having the resolve. I think this kid David Mgoyan, I don't even know if I'm saying his name right. He was a tough pup too. I think he landed a couple of really good shots in the first round, and Guns just kept it moving. He kept it moving. I couldn't be more proud to be affiliated with our gym. We've got so many guys that are just dogs coming up. And Tommy's just the beginning. Tommy's just the first wave. He's the first domino in the first wave of what's to come for Red Hawk Academy out of Peoria, Arizona. Okay. I'm really fired up. So Guns got a UFC contract. He's the next big thing. I'm telling you guys, at 145, look out for him. A lot of people are already, he's on already a lot of people's radar based on what I'm seeing on Twitter. But I just wanted to give my friend a shout out after that performance. He won by majority decision last night against a tough guy, an undefeated guy, and they both had to go to the hospital after the fight. They both had to go to the hospital. Tommy wasn't even able to go to the presser, I guess, with the other guys that got contracts because he had to check in to the local facilities, if you will. So just a gutsy motherfucking fight, man. Got me so fired up seeing that because I know the work that the guy puts in. So I just wanted to give him his flowers. It made no sense. These guys were the first fight of the evening in this Contender Series, even though Guns by far had the most hype of any guy on the whole card. So it's good to see. It's good to see. Somebody is working hard have some success and take on a pivotal moment in stride. So that's the first thing. I was fired up about that. We got week 1 in one sleep. We got NFL week 1 in probably 25 hours, 26 hours, maybe 27, 28. Okay. And you got the Philadelphia Eagles facing off against the Dallas Cowboys. I think this game is going to be a fucking snooze fest. I feel like there could be a better game to start the season off with. I mean, what was it? Last year it was the Chiefs, and it's always the defending champs on a Thursday night. It was the Chiefs. It wasn't the Lions. That was the season before. I cannot remember who the Chiefs played for the first game last year. But regardless, you're excited to have football back. We're all excited to have football back. We've already dove into what's happening in college football this week, and we'll continue to get into it. But I just struggle to not talk about the NFL every chance I get. So we've got an Eagles team who They're a great team. And it's natural for the masses to maybe start to get tired of an organization, a program that's having success. And I think you're already starting to see some Eagles fatigue if you get in the trenches on Twitter a little bit. Same thing with Alabama. I posted some clips from Monday's episode about Alabama, and the outpouring of folks preying on Alabama's downfall far outweighed any supportive messages around the Crimson Tide program in the state of it. And so you got the Philadelphia Eagles. There's a lot of people online that like to make fun of Jalen Hurts and his motivational one-liners that he drops in pressers. You can tell he's got that Sabanite energy when he answers questions in the media. And I don't mind it. I think the guy tries a little too hard to be stoic, if you will. Almost to the point where it's tough to see if he has a personality or not. You know the guy does, but you just don't see it in the press. I don't know if it's a lack of trust on his end. Being a formative time in his life was at the University of Alabama, where Nick Saban was probably telling him, hey, don't trust the media. Media's rat poison. Don't take the cheese. That's something we used to always say in college. And I went to I played at a smaller program in Samford University in Birmingham. And so we didn't really have to deal with the media a lot. We would deal with the media. Obviously, there's local interest in Birmingham because it is a football town in a football state. But we never needed to have media training or anything like that. But I always remember, regardless of what size of football program you're at, you always have to be wary of distractions. Football is a sport that requires your whole entire focus. And when you get to a certain level, obviously, even at the college level, even at a small program like I played at, you always have to regard football as a full-time job. There's no room for distractions. And so we always had a saying in our facility, don't take the cheese, meaning if you're a mouse and you see a block of cheese sitting in the corner, and it's just sitting there. It's almost too good to be true. Don't take the cheese because it's a trap. Don't take the cheese. What up, Kingston? My boy Kingston Solberg in the chat saying what's up. Always supporting the channel. He says, do we see FSU as a number 14 ranked team and Alabama went down to number 21? Listen, I don't mean to digress from what we're talking about here. This is what I love about a live show, by the way. We're able to have a chat. We're able to have fans, audience members chime in on what we're talking about. This is part of what I like about a live show. So I believe Florida State's offensive line play was incredible on Saturday. They have some big physical guys. You've obviously got a playmaker with some moxie in Tommy Castellanos. Mystic Tommy, they call him. Okay? I was trying to get some alliteration there, maybe something that starts with a T. True Tommy, right? Because what he said is true about Saban in Alabama back in June. The guy called his shot. He goes out there, plays ball. Florida State runs for upwards of 200 yards. So I just, Kinks is in the chat. He's a big Florida State fan. Wanted to humor him a little bit. But back to what we're talking about. I think Jalen Hurts has definitely gone through the Nick Saban media training, and that's part of how he is able to carry himself in the media today. Not a bad thing, but people are getting a little tired. And if I go into my X bookmarks here, I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. Let's take a look. Eagles head coach Nick Sirianni says he didn't know Thursday night is banner night, and he and the players won't be out there for it.
Yeah, I didn't know it was banner night. We won't be out for that. We've had a good training camp.
They knew, dude.
Our habits are going in the right direction, and you focus on those things as every practice that we go through, we're thinking about how did we tackle, how did we take care of the football, how did we take it away, how did we catch it, how did we block, and so you're just looking for those to constantly be on the rise. And I think when you practice with the intensity that our team practices with, and you get that good on good work that we've gotten for so long. Our good offensive line is going against our good defensive line. You have no choice but to get better, and so I feel good about that. Now we got to go do it. We got to let our habits take over in the game. As coaches, we got to let our habits take over in the game as players. But I feel good about where we are right now, and this will be a really good test against a really good opponent.
Okay. So here's the thing, and I'm going to come back because I'm working on my connection here. Here's the thing. You guys knew that it was banner night. Okay? You don't have to say that I didn't know it was banner night. I love the energy, right? No distractions. We're going to keep the main thing, and that championship season is in the past. I love that mentality, okay? But don't lie and say you didn't know it was banner night. Okay? That's happened every year for as long as the NFL's. I don't know. It's probably happened every year for a long time. You have the first game of the next season, you have banner night. Okay? So don't tell us we're not stupid. Some of us might be. I might be a little stupid, okay? I might look a little stupid. But I know that you know that it was banner night, bro. Don't lie to us. Okay? That's the only thing. Everything else he's saying, I love the mentality. The past is in the past. I just told my 8U Pop Warner kids that last night at practice. We got a really great dub on Saturday. We won by 3 scores. We shut them out. Okay? And so I told my kids last night, I said, look, the past is in the past. Let's work hard now. Okay? Because the job's not done. So I love the mentality. I agree with the mentality. I align with the mentality. But don't lie to us and say, oh, I play it all cool. I didn't know, that Thursday was banner night. Okay? That's the first thing. So then we get into the game. I don't want to get too far down on the Dallas Cowboys. But you got a next to no name head coach at the helm for Dallas, an internal hire. It seems like every time an internal hire happens, I'd say 8 out of 10 internal hires that happen in pro football and college football end up being scrutinized, criticized by the fans, and potentially for good reason. I actually had to, and maybe I don't know ball as much as I think I do. Before the show, I actually had to Google what the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys' name was because I keep forgetting. So where does that leave you in terms of how the Cowboy fans might feel about the state of their organization? You just traded Micah Parsons, arguably your best player, away in an unforced manner. You didn't really, you kind of had to trade Parsons away, but you also didn't really have to. You could have just said, hey, buddy, suck it up. Let's play football. We'll pay you a little bit. Whatever the case may be. I'm not inside those walls. I'm not Jerry Jones. I don't know what kind of conversations were going on throughout the course of Micah Parsons' contract negotiation. But it seems to me from the outside that Micah Parsons knows how good of a player he is. And some reports came out that folks in the other players on the Cowboys roster in the locker room were kind of rubbed the wrong way by Parsons. But I don't buy that. You don't make it to that level of player most of the time unless God's just blessed you with some of that secret juice flowing through your veins. You don't make it to that level most of the time if you're an asshole in the locker room. And again, some guys might be so good. Micah Parsons could be one of them, that he's so goddamn good that he's been able to make it this far being an asshole, and nobody's really, stuck up to him. I don't know. So you lose your best player if you're the Dallas Cowboys. Your offensive line, which in Dallas has always, throughout my years watching football, most years I've been watching and a part of football, the Dallas Cowboys offensive line has been pretty good. I looked at it before the show here today. I did not recognize a single name. It seems like there's a couple of guys in there that are really good in the run game and struggle in the pass protection game. Okay, and then you look at the running back room in Dallas. You got Sanders, that fella that played running back at North Carolina technically North Carolina, if you want to call it, Miles Sanders. He's the second running back, and then you got Javonte Williams, I believe, as the first running back. A guy that played in Denver for a couple years. Never a guy that jumped off the screen when watching film to me. A good player, right? But never a guy that jumped off the screen to me on film. I hope he proves me wrong, okay? Nonetheless, this is an NFC East battle that promises to be some kind of game. I don't know where I was going with that. Kind of the whole Michael Scott thing. You start a sentence, you don't know where you're going with it. But division games are always pretty entertaining, no matter what the mano-a-mano matchups are. Okay? You got Dak Prescott, who I have always thought is mid. I've always thought that he is mid, and you look at an owner, owner, GM, Jerry Jones seems to pick his favorites and go all the way in on his favorites for better or for worse. I've just never seen it in Dak Prescott. I've never seen it. Ever. Not even really. They've had some good teams that played well in the regular season. Obviously, when the lights come on, it's pretty hard to say anything but mid for Dallas. In the receiver room, you've got a top 5 wideout in CeeDee Lamb, obviously. You've got a receiver in George Pickens that's got some of the most God-given talent I've seen on film that materializes in some moments and doesn't in others. So I would have to think that if the Cowboys are even going to have a shot to win this game, they're going to have to rip off 3-4 good shot plays in the passing game that change the trajectory of the whole game. So I would imagine you would have, Pickens at that X spot, put him on an island, try and see if you can isolate him, get him in single man coverage, and take shots. You obviously got to get the kid's head screwed on straight, make sure he stays out of fights, make sure he's not docking his team with personal foul penalties because he's shoving the corner around because he's a little frustrated. That's been the issue in Pickens' career to this point. The guy can't keep his head on straight. And so Dallas, I would say, in somewhat of a desperate spot, we're happy to take a guy with a lot of upside like Pickens. I just don't know if he's going to be able to keep his head on straight playing for a team that, I mean, let's look at the NFC East. You got the Eagles, defending champs. You got the Commanders. They're contenders for sure. And then you got the Giants, who have some optimism around them, but will probably be ass to low mid. You know, it's going to be interesting to see how that quarterback room in New York kind of unfolds. Because you got some guys, right? You got Russell Wilson. Who the fuck's calling me? Get out of here. I'm glad that didn't cut my video, because I am using my phone to film this. Jesus Christ. Stop. These spam calls. Here's the thing, and I'm going to digress for a second. I don't know if anyone watching right now gets a bunch of spam calls, but I do. And sometimes I like to make it a fun game where I decline the call right away. And you know these Indian fucks, they're persistent. They're persistent guys, you know, so they'll dial you right back. I've had someone, a spam caller, die, and it really pisses them off when you decline the call right away, right? So they'll call you right back, and then I decline it right away, and I kind of make it a fun little game. It's kind of petty of me, but, you know, especially if I got time today, type of energy. I've had a guy try and call me 8-9 times in a row, and it's kind of satisfying finally getting someone to quit, kind of breaking their will. It's a lot like football, all right? You got to break the guy across from you. And so I think that's a big, big, big advantage that the Philadelphia Eagles have. They got the best defensive front in the game right now. You know, Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, number 3 out there on the edge. He had a hell of a year last year out there at that 9-tech, 7-tech type of deal. So, and I think Jalen Carter's the best interior defensive lineman in the game. And when you have an interior D lineman that powerful, that mean, with that kind of size, it changes the whole game. I think I'm gonna give a hot take here. I think interior defensive line is the most impactful position in football. I'm talking nose tackles, 3 techniques right there in the trenches. Because when you can push the line of scrimmage, when you can recreate the line of scrimmage like Jalen Carter's able to do with violent hands, a strong trunk, explosive with size, it's going to be hard for the offense to do anything. Even with my 8U kids, Pop Warner, last Saturday we had our game, and we got a really, for that age, we got a really big kid playing nose, and he's able to just shove that center back, and he actually got there and took the ball right from the quarterback in our game. And so even though it's 8-year-olds, I think it translates over to the pro game a lot. You're obviously not able to shove the center flat on his ass and take the ball from the quarterback mid-handoff, but when you can recreate the line of scrimmage, it's a big deal. So with the Eagles, they got the best defensive front in the game. And I believe, and they got a great offensive line too. It's important on the offensive side of the ball to push that line of scrimmage back and really just bully guys, break the guy's will in front of you. It's kind of like shutting down spam callers. You know, they might keep coming back for a little bit. They might keep coming back for a little bit, but you're going to keep coming back, and you're going to come back one more time than they come back. That's the mentality that Dan Campbell's instilled in Detroit. You're going to knock us down. We're going to get back up. We're going to bite off a kneecap. You're going to knock us back down. We're going to get up. We're going to bite off the other kneecap. And then, you know, maybe bite your, yeah, I'm not going to go there. So, Eagles, Cowboys. My prediction, Eagles win by 2 scores. That's my prediction for Thursday night. Eagles 1-0. If you look across the slate for week 1, starting on Sunday, it is, you know, I think you got Colts, Dolphins, snooze. Who else do we have here? You got Chiefs Chargers in Brazil on Friday. Could be a fun one. Those guys apparently just absolutely hate going to Brazil, by the way. They hate it. You can't when these guys go to play football in Brazil, it's so dangerous there. Especially, I would argue, for famous guys. I would imagine this game's happening in Rio de Janeiro. I run Rio de Janeiro. If we were in a different time, I'd come into your town on horseback and kill everyone who was not fit to work. I put my foot on the desk. I run Rio de Janeiro. Dub for anyone in the chat that catches that reference. Accent was probably a dead giveaway. But yeah, these guys, they hate playing in Rio de Janeiro. Darius Slay talked about it last season because the Eagles had an early season game against the Packers in Brazil. Apparently, everybody was getting hurt because the state of the field was it was pretty. How do I say this? The surface was very hard. The grass, maybe they fixed it. I think it's grass. Maybe it's turf. A lot of guys don't like turf. I didn't love turf because it's not as forgiving of a surface. You stick your foot in the ground, and you can blow that ACL clean out on the wrong kind of turf. I think a lot of people hate playing in MetLife for that reason up in East Rutherford, New Jersey. So when these guys go up to play in Brazil, I have a good friend, former teammate James Bradbury. I'm looking at his jersey sitting on my wall right now, framed. He talked about it too, I believe. I don't want to throw him under the bus if my memory's faulty, but a couple sources, right, say that when you go to Brazil, they don't let you out of the hotel room. Because it's probably not safe for somebody with that level of fame. I'd love to go to Brazil at some point and go train a little jiu-jitsu, right? Maybe watch a Vale Tudo match. Vale Tudo is street fighting, and it originated in Brazil. It gets part of the credit for the birth of Brazilian jiu-jitsu. And Vale Tudo is Brazilian for anything goes. So, you can Vale Tudo fight happens in an alley. You got people running the deal. You got bystanders watching the fight, and it's on hard concrete, and anything goes. You got to beat the guy across from you. I would never want to do a Vale Tudo match. The thought of an MMA fight alone kind of scares me. Just knowing what some of my training partners are capable of. But anyways, so we got that game in Brazil. This is probably going to be a weird game. These guys' sleep schedules are going to be fucked up, probably. I don't know. Maybe they got them out there a week early or something to acclimate to the time difference. I don't know what the time difference is from here to Brazil. But anyways, so you got that game. Another division matchup. It's going to be a weird game. I would not bet on that game at all, just for all those different variables that we do not know about. Panthers, Jaguars, snooze, other than Travis Hunter's debut. Steelers, Jets. Only interesting part about that game is the Aaron Rodgers storyline. Other than that, I don't think Justin Fields can throw the football. And if you're a starting quarterback in the NFL and people are questioning your ability to toss the rock, offense probably not going to be in good shape, right? You still got Breece Hall back there. I think he got a little too much hype last season. It's hard for a good player to thrive in an offense that can't really do anything, okay? Still got Garrett Wilson. I don't know any other guys on that Jets offense, to be frank. Maybe I don't know ball. Maybe you guys shouldn't even watch this podcast because it's a football podcast for the most part. Cardinals, Saints, snooze, sleeping. Giants, Commanders. I would guess that the Commandees are going to beat that ass. I bet it's probably a 6.5, 7-point spread. I'm not seeing the spread on here, just on the quick menu. Bucks Falcons, that could be a fun one. Okay? Bucks Falcons. Listen, the Bucks have kind of been in the middle of the pack in the NFL, upper middle class, right? The Bucks are hanging out in a, the Bucks, they got a 7 or 8 wife. They got a couple of kids. They're contributing to their 401k. They got a, in today's economy, they probably got a $400,000, $450,000 crib that they're living in some suburb, right? The Buccaneers have been upper middle tier in the NFL. Look for Baker Mayfield to really make some noise. Mike Evans, one of the great receivers of our time. Chris Godwin, both those guys, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, getting pretty old, right? Getting pretty old. This is a violent game that taxes your body, especially at the receiver position. You're coming across the middle. You're eating some hits. I would almost argue, I played linebacker my whole life. Most of the plays that harmed me physically the most were hits that I dealt. So maybe at the receiver position, when you're receiving more hits than you're dealing, coincidentally could be easier on the body. I've never played receiver. Damn sure haven't played it at that level, so I really don't know if I can speak on that. Bengals, Browns, look, you're going to hear a lot about the Cincinnati Bengals on this podcast. I debate sometimes making my thumbnails or not making my thumbnails, just having stripes in the background, because we're going to be covering the Bengals a lot throughout the course of the season, because it's my team that I grew up with, and I have a bit of an emotional attachment to them, a big emotional attachment to them. So I don't want to say that this is a Cincinnati Bengals show, but that's definitely the team that I can chat shit about the most. And this is the most pivotal season in Cincinnati sports history that we're about to embark on. If we somehow have a season even close to as disappointing as 2024, we're looking at blowing the whole thing up. Like, send Joe Burrow somewhere that he can actually get a ring type thing, because my sweet prince deserves it. And I hope it's in Cincinnati. I think it will be in Cincinnati. But we're starting this season off against Cleveland on the road, okay? A Browns franchise that has kind of had a circus in town this offseason, if you will, with their quarterback draft selections. One of the quarterbacks specifically, who seems to be their QB3 that they took in the 5th round, brought a bit of a circus to town, okay? There's always got to be a guy or two guys in football that bring a circus to town. I remember when Tebow Mania was happening, around the same time Linsanity was going on, if we're going to pivot over to the basketball world. Okay? So, and then let me think of some other kind of polarizing figures that weren't really doing a ton on the field, let's say. But the thing is that if they're warranting that kind of circus, at some points they have done that, right? You look at that game in 2011, 2012, the playoff game against the Steelers, Broncos-Steelers, where Tebow throws that slant to Demaryius Thomas, rest in peace. So you have your glimmers, right? We're getting to a point in football where the stars that fellas my age at 28 knew in our early years obviously had kids, and those kids or nephews are now in the limelight trying to make a name for themselves. And it's hard. I empathize with those guys on a spiritual level. I'm in the same business that my father was in, and his father before him, and his father before him, 4 generations. I feel the pressure every day doing the job that I do between the trenches. I can't imagine the pressure that some of these guys feel, Sanders, Manning, Bronny James. I can't imagine the pressure that these guys feel with all this media scrutiny on them. I'm talking about them right now. I'm part of the media. Damn, I forgot to record this thing. I'm going to have to rip the YouTube audio. Anyway, for my Spotify listeners. So I get it, right? But there are some advantages that come with so much media buzz. And for that reason, it is hard to feel sympathy for those guys. But they have massive expectations on them, and they really can't do jack shit about it except go out and play football or basketball, right? So for the Bengals, I'm just full of stuff today. For the Bengals, there's just no reason to not win this football game on Sunday. There's no reason. 1-11 in the last 6 years since Joe Burrow was drafted in weeks 1 and 2. I'm trying to remember the lone victory. The lone victory in weeks 1 and 2 for Cincinnati came the year that we went to the Super Bowl. So, if we win this game, we're going back, baby. No, I should. I mean, okay. But every game this season is going to be a huge one for Cincinnati Bengals. Not just because I have an emotional attachment, but because I truly believe that the expectations, the players we have in place, they're starting to become this angst that we're wasting the prime years of some of the greatest players we've ever seen. So every game's a big game. A lot of people might look at that and say snoozer, but I do think even if you're not a fan of the Cincinnati Bengals, they are a very polarizing situation right now. I think Joe Burrow brings eyeballs. I think Jamar Chase brings eyeballs. I think the situation and the perceived ineptness of the front office that I've talked about so many times on this show. Say what you want about this front office. Say what you want about women in football, right? Mike Brown's daughter, Katie Blackburn, running the show in Cincinnati. I have my feelings about women in football. I know my iPhone battery is around 10%, so I got to cut to the chase because that's my main camera here. Speaking of the Browns, we have an assistant GM for the Cleveland Browns that for some reason is being pushed to the forefront of recent media rumblings. Okay, let's see if our connection can get its shit together so that we can watch this video and we get down the line, wrap this episode up.
And yeah, it's actually great question, Daryl. That's what makes our job fun and hard. I'd say I'd just go back to like the plan that we have in place for these guys when it comes to developing is acquiring as many valuable data points we can. Now we know these things take time. So what is that going to look like at the end of the year? I don't have a crystal ball to tell you, and I don't do well with hypotheticals, but I will say that every opportunity we will have to evaluate them, we will take. None of them is going to take, a back seat in how we plan and program for them with the reps that we have. And then from there, we'll see what the spring brings, and we'll evaluate all possibilities like we always do.
Okay. I had to check how much time was left on that video because listening to that is brutal. Don't care how you see it. I don't know why the Browns are pushing this person to the forefront. I don't know how this lady made it as high up the totem pole as she did. I don't know her. I don't know her story, but I do know that the NFL has kind of been encumbered with some woke ideology the last couple of years. say it how you want. I probably said it in a less desirable way than some people might like. I don't give a fuck, though, dude. I don't give a shit. Women have no place in football, okay? I'm going to say it. Women have no place in football. I love women. Women serve a divine, beautiful purpose for us on this earth. Football is a masculine sport, and any type of feminine energy is toxic in a football locker room, in a football organization. Why do you think Ryan Williams, the best player for the Alabama Crimson Tide, is getting so much flack for painting his fingernails and bringing an anxiety doll to the goddamn football game on Saturday? I guarantee you, if that Bama program's serious about their reputation and striking fear into opponents, you will not see a goddamn anxiety doll off the bus. Okay? When you get off the bus, that's your opportunity to strike fear into the opponent. Okay? There's no place for feminine energy there. There's no place. I love feminine energy. I love it. I want it around the house all the time. But my house is not a football program. My house is not a football organization. And so one word comes to mind in terms of explaining why the Browns are pushing this lady to the forefront. It is diversity. It's equity. It's inclusion. Until we stop deluding ourselves, at least in a football context, that equity, equality, and inclusion is important, whatever organization continues to uphold those values will continue to perform as the Cleveland Browns have performed in the past decades. Okay? There's no place for this shit. I'm not saying that this lady hasn't worked hard to get where she's at. I'm not saying my phone's at 5%, so we're going to have to wrap it up. I'm not saying that she hasn't earned where she's at. I'm just saying that we have to reconsider the role that the relationship that we have in football with feminine energy. There's just no place for feminine energy in the organization. Football is a masculine, bone-crushing, take-your-soul kind of sport. And objectively, that's feminine energy is not. That's masculinity. I want my football team to be toxically masculine. You know, that sounds kind of gay, huh? But seriously, objectively, that's what I want, dude. No, he didn't. I'm just reading the chat now. Chad Jawline, that's fire. Chad Ocho Cinco, to you, brother. No, that's not me. But my favorite player of all time. Let's wrap this thing up because my phone is getting low, ladies and gentlemen. And that's what I'm using to record here. Raiders, Patriots. Actually, not really. Okay, the Raiders might be revamped. The Patriots might be revamped. I take that back. That could be an interesting game. 49ers, Seahawks could be interesting. Again, my phone is the camera here, and we're at 5% battery, so I got to wrap this thing up. But we'll be back tomorrow. Titans, Broncos. Broncos, I think, will run all over them. Texans, Rams. Interesting game. That might be a very evenly matched one. Lions, Packers. That'll be fun. Ravens, Bills in prime time on Sunday night. I think that's the game of the week, objectively, because we're going to see who's who early. We're going to see two MVP tier guys, quarterbacks, go at it. This is a quarterback game. Okay. I'm sorry if there's anything, by the way, in the description that I didn't get to. The topics that we had, the first two topics, ended up lasting us here close to an hour. So I'm going to wrap it up there. That's today's show. We will be back tomorrow. We're here every day, live, Monday through Friday. This is my show, In the Jar. My name's Clark Dupree. You can call me Dupe for short if you want. Dupe Dog, all those kind. Dupe Dog, DAWG, all those kind of things. That's not a self-given nickname, by the way. Wow, I had to explain that. Okay. Hey, if you're watching this and you got a quick second, just double tap that screen for me, man. We're really trying our best to give you good content consistently. We're working our ass off over here. Frankly, I'm a one-man operation right now. I got an editor. His name's Luke. He's a good dude. But we've been going live, and it's been great because we're able to get time-sensitive sports content to you as it happens. Okay, I'm jumping on stream right now. We're going to play a game of Madden, and then I'm going to send it on to do some grappling and some Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu later today. So subscribe to the channel so you don't miss it. If you're a football guy, you're a Gruden grinder, you love football, you're one of Dupe's dogs, join the community. We're a growing community here. Okay, now I'm going to shut the fuck up. I'm going to go offline before this thing cuts it for me. Jeff, what's going on, brother? We will be right back online, so just hang tight on the channel. We're going to be live again here in a couple seconds to play some Madden. All right, that's today's episode of In the Jar. I love you.